There's no doubt that as we're heading into the holiday season, there is so much to juggle, and that can really weigh on one's mental health. Here to share more with us about how she finds balance in stressful times is award-winning author of The Yoga of Parenting and world-renowned yoga educator, Sarah Ezrin. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Jess. This is very exciting.
Yes, I'm so excited too. I really want to dive into what you being a yoga educator actually means.
Well, it's funny, I just wrote a whole article about this because there are many titles that people that offer yoga can go by, right? So we think of like a yoga teacher or a yoga instructor or a yoga guide. And what I like about educator is that it implies that I'm also teaching other teachers. So one of the things that I get to do is I get to lead teacher trainings and I get to raise other teachers. And I feel like beyond just kind of calling out poses and teaching the workout of it, which is what most of us know or think of when we think of yoga.
Right.
I get to really offer the much deeper aspects of it, the philosophy, the psychology, and even the mental health aspect of it. And all of that goes into, it becomes more of an education than just moving around on the mat. Although I love moving around on the mat too. That's also my favorite.
How did you kind of get started in this space, and where did yoga start for you in your life and your journey?
It was a joke, actually, from my dad. So I was 19. I'm 41, by the way, as I tell this story. I was turning 19, and my dad sent me a box to imply that I was getting older. And one of them was a yoga VHS, right? Because this was 2001. And I think it was also this subliminal messaging of like, I was in college in those days of like, yes, please also take care of yourself. But I put it in my dorm room, and my roommate at the time, who is now also a yoga teacher still, we both just were enamored. I mean, from the second that we heard the breathing, I mean, we literally we put our cigarettes out and moved the trundle bed out of the way, and you know, everything, everything fell into place for both of us. It was the most embodied I'd ever been. It was the most connected I'd ever felt, and it planted this seed for both of us, where now both of us are teachers, you know, 25 years later.
Yeah, that's incredible. What a great journey for you. You've transformed all of that knowledge and you've put it into a book, The Yoga of Parenting. Tell me what went into writing this book, and what did you want people to take away from it?
The book, it's amazing. I mean, I feel like I've been destined to write a book my whole life. I've always wanted to write a book, ever since I could put pen to paper, and I never knew what the book was going to be. And then, of course, I had that cataclysmic shift of becoming a mother, and it also happened to correspond with the pandemic. And I was extremely isolated. I had severe postpartum anxiety. I mean, it was to the point where leaving the house was challenging. And I went to where I normally find solace, which is books and yogic texts and psychology books or psychology studies. And I found that a lot of the parenting books out there were actually making me feel worse.
Wow.
And there are obviously great ones out there too, but most of the ones that were behaviorally focused, like you must do this, all like, it would almost give me more anxiety, because then I was like, am I saying the right thing? And it was like, they would give you a script, and then I'm like, did I get to my knees first? Am I making eye contact? Am I validating him? Like, there was so much more pressure. And I realized, well, what's missing? What am I looking for? Well, in a lot of the yogic texts that I read, there's always this understanding of finding your own way and really celebrating your uniqueness. And I was like, that's what's missing in all these parenting books. They're all prescription. So where's the book that helps guide us on where we need to go, that helps us find our inner voice and our inner truth?
Yeah, so what are some of the big major lessons then that people, that you write about and that people can take away?
And I do think, like, I know it's the yoga of parenting, but I think anybody could understand and relate to it, because really it's about the yoga of that deep inward connection to yourself. I think that's the #1 lesson is, you know, we think yoga in the West and we automatically assume the physical practice. And again, that's great, and I love it, and I still do it, you know, as often as I can. But what yoga really is it's about a deeper connection. And whether that's a connection to another person as you're talking to them, or a connection with your breath, or a connection with your body as you're moving, or a connection with your kids, how are you cultivating that connection? How are you really working on your presence in that moment? And so that's what the book does. It just offers so many different tools of how to find connection. Connection to yourself, connection to your family, connection to others, connection to something bigger.
What does finding that connection do for everyone individually, you know, based on whether they're going through something really stressful or they're just kind of doing their day-to-day? How does that connection help them, and why does it matter?
I mean, connection is everything, right? And I told myself for a long time that like I could do it all on my own. And I don't know if that's just what was emulated to me. I had a very stoic mother that was like hyper independent and get it all done, or if that's just the narrative that a lot of mothers have in the United States of like, do it all and, you know, make sure to show up with your makeup on. But that was originally how I went into motherhood. And I realized as the project started to come to light and I realized what was missing and then reaching out. And one of the things that's unique about the book is I interviewed a bunch of different other teachers and parents, was it was reaching out and making the connection that was shoring me up and helping me feel supported. And it just reminded me, we need our community. Right. We need that constant holding, right? And that's the village aspect of parenting that's missing.
Yeah.
But I think we need it just, you know, whether you're a parent to a plant or a dog or a child, we need one another to support each other, to walk this life together. We're a social species.
Yeah, and how does finding that connection really just help someone to move forward and have that balance and peace inside them?
I mean, I think it's, you know, and they've done a lot of studies on this too, of like, there's longevity that happens when you're living with another human being. There's a resiliency when there's traumatic events or things that are intense that are going on. You're just able to cope with it better. Yeah, I mean, I think, and the yoga of it, right, is like, so what's the connection, right? What's the connection piece? What are you connecting to? Are you connecting to your friends? Are you connecting to your breath? Are you connecting to your body? I think all of it really is, it becomes this tool for anchoring us in the present. And in the present, we can manage and we can really handle what's going on in front of us to the best of our ability. Where when we get into future tripping, as someone who's highly anxious, like that's when I get overwhelmed. So if I can anchor into this conversation and just do like, you know, I mean, even being nervous to be on here, like, but I'm just like, I'm just talking to you. I'm just talking to a friend. And it just makes everything feel more settled and more manageable.
Yes, I agree. I love that. I love that it's really applicable to kind of any point that you are in your life, whether it's your kids, your job, just home life, kind of day to day, you can always just find that connection.